self-made millionaire Steve Siebold says anyone can hit life's jackpot.
Steve Siebold is a world-class expert on mental toughness training for increasing sales, developing people, and managing change. He's a best-selling author and popular television interview guest on mental toughness for building wealth, getting fit, and excelling in sports.
How does a rich person look at money? What do they see? They see
lots of it.
And just available out there in the universe?
It's everywhere, especially with the recession. We have total chaos in the economy all over the world, world economy.
So they see opportunity.
They see opportunity because there's all these problems. Because where there's chaos, there's opportunity to solve problems, to make money.
Someone said that the rich, having made a lot of money last year in the stock market, and maybe some money in the housing market, the rich have an obligation to spend that money to help the economy. And you say?
Why? Why are they obligated? I mean, these people didn't make their money robbing banks. They made their money solving problems.
Because it would be good for the economy.
So is solving problems. I mean, do people want their problems solved or not? If they want their problems solved, you're going to have to look to the innovators, the job producers, the creators.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Steve Siebold.
Hey everyone, it's Steve Siebold. Welcome back to the Personal Development Podcast. And today I want to talk about something I've gotten so many emails on over the summer, messages on social media, etc. And that is about Global Financial Impact, the insurance marketing organization that has kind of taken the industry by storm over the last year and a half or so. And so I've gotten so many emails about this and messages. And people keep asking me, can you call me on the phone? Call me on the phone and talk to me about this GFI. And I keep telling people, look, I'll refer you to someone in the organization. And they, no, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to a third party. And so I don't have time to call all these people. I'm semi-retired. You know, I used to live on the phone for 30 years building, my business in 10 countries around the world and offices and, over 500 employees and et cetera, et cetera. And I'm done on the phone. I'm done talking to a bunch of people on the phone. I work with my speaker apprentices now, and that's it pretty much. So anyway, but so I want to talk a little bit about, I'm calling this exposed because I want to expose at least, my knowledge of GFI and the opportunity and global financial impact. Just the top 5 questions. I'm not going to get into a whole big thing here. I certainly don't call myself an expert on GFI or global financial impact. My experience has been that about 20 plus years ago, 22, 23 years ago, whatever it's been now, my book started selling in these insurance marketing organizations in different companies. Primerica would be the largest company. They bought, tens of thousands of my books and then eventually a lot more than that. And another company called World Financial Group, which was a spinoff basically of Primerica and still is. Both companies are in operation today. I ended up writing the book, the only book ever written about World Financial Group, The Truth About World Financial Group, where it was unauthorized. That's why it's called unauthorized, because the company had so many restrictions on what I would write and not write and all that, lawyers and HR people and all, So I just did it as based on my relationship with so many of the leaders that have bought my books and all that. Well, one of the top leaders in World Financial Group is a guy named Eric Olson, just an incredible leader. Got to know him over the years. Got to know him, first of all, met him when he was working in a toll booth. Huge guy, 6'5", I don't know what Eric weighs, but at one point he was a lot bigger. He's smaller now, but maybe 300 pounds, 300 plus pounds. In a toll booth, you can't imagine, but he was very ambitious football player, got drafted by the San Diego Chargers, and that didn't really work out for him. He had an injury or so, or two. And so he went into business and did super well. Became a multimillionaire in his 20s. And I became a big fan of his in WFG. Well, a couple of years ago, about a year, I guess a little over a year and a half ago, he and his wife, Sandra, I was called Sandra because we had a secretary, or not a secretary, but a marketing person that worked for us named Sandra. And I always had to get used to Sandra instead of Sandra. Anyway, her name is Sandra, but Eric's wife is Sandra. But anyway, they co-founded this company called Global Financial Impact, or GFI, and really have taken the industry by storm. And I think this is just my opinion. You can, if you want to really get experts to tell you about GFI, talk to someone in GFI. I am not in GFI. I'm not an associate with GFI. I'm not paid by GFI for any of these comments or anything like that. I'm just a fan. And I'm a fan of both what GFI is doing, and I'm a big fan of Eric Olson as a leader. I believe he is the strongest leader in the history of this industry, and I think that's kind of proving itself out with GFI's massive, incredible success. But anyway, just to get this started, I just want you to know that I don't have any ties to GFI. I'm a fan of this industry. That's really what it comes down to, and I'll tell you exactly why. Because as a lifelong entrepreneur, I know what it's like to struggle. I started out, like most entrepreneurs, with nothing, zero debt. When we started our first business, we were my wife and I were $13,000 in credit card debt, and our average rate, interest rate on the credit cards was 24%. And if you've ever been there, you start doing the math, and we would talk, and then the weekends and look at our numbers and say, we're never going to catch up. We're never going to catch up. We're going to keep getting farther and farther and deeper into debt, and we're not going to be able to do anything. I mean, we're going to starve at this point, and eventually go bankrupt. And you wake up at 3 a.m. worrying about money, and it's not a funny thing. Well, luck would have it that we worked hard, but a lot of people work hard, and we got some breaks, and we got a mentor. We got an unbelievable mentor and named Bill Gove in the professional speaking business and writing business and consulting, corporate consulting businesses. And then for 30 plus years after that, we did turnarounds with underperforming sales teams and companies like Johnson & Johnson, GlaxoSmithKline, Microsoft, Harrah's Casinos, Merck Pharmaceutical, it goes on and on. And so we were able to become financially independent at a fairly young age and retire in our 50s. And so that was a lucky break for us. But I never forgot what it was like to struggle financially. And I should say, in the interest of full disclosure, that during those 30 years, we had some rough times. I mean, COVID cost us about $10 million. Now, some of you high rollers, that's not a lot of money, but to a small business like ours, that was a bunch of money. We didn't do an event for 2+ years, and we were in the event business. Companies wouldn't let us come in. You guys know the story. Most of you lived through, well, I guess everyone watching this lived through COVID, but it was brutal. We lost, millions and millions of dollars. Luckily, we saved a bunch of money, and we were lucky to just hang on. And so that was good. But point of it is that, I know what it's like to struggle. And the reason, coming back to it, that I love, companies in the financial space like World Financial, like Primerica, like GFI. And there are other companies, smaller companies, a lot of them in the space. There's lots of IMOs. But those are the major big ones that I just mentioned. I'm a big fan of all of them, even the smaller ones, because they give opportunities to a lot of people that don't have a lot of opportunity. Like, if you got $2 or $3 million, I can show you where to put it and you'll never work another day in your life. Okay. But if you've got $200 in the bank, that's a different deal. And I've been there. Most of us have been there. And so I know what it's like to struggle, and they offer a legitimate opportunity. I don't care what you see online and all this BS that these people that fail in the business put online and say, oh, it's a scam and it's a pyramid scheme. It's this, it's that, it's the other thing. They're wrong. They're ignorant. They don't know what they're talking about. Most of these people get in these companies. I'll just give it to you straight. I've been around them for 25 years. They get in these companies. They fail to do what they're told to do. They get angry about it. A lot of people around them told them, I told you so, say to them, I told you so. I told you so. You should have never done it if you'd have listened to me. Well, the truth is they didn't do the work. Most people don't do the work. They fail at every business because they don't do the work. This is just a reality. Okay. The professional speaking and writing business, I have mentored thousands and thousands and thousands of people, literally from afar, in some groups, whatever. I've spoken all over the world about this business because I've been in the top 1% of the business for almost, within the first 3 or 4 years I was in the business. Most people do the same in our business. They just don't do the work. And then they want to blame the industry for their failure. Well, they do the same thing in this business as well with companies like GFI, World Financial, Primerica, et cetera. They say, oh, well, it's the opportunity. It wasn't me. No, it's them. They just didn't do the work. These companies, make no mistake. I don't get paid by these companies. Okay. I'm just telling you the truth because I know the inner workings. I wrote a book on one of them. Okay. I'm very familiar with their concepts, their products, et cetera. And they represent a legitimate opportunity. Is it easy? Oh, hell no. Hell no. Anyone that tells you it's easy is lying, or they just don't understand it. One of the two. Oh no, these people work really hard. Like if you're lazy, just forget it. Okay. If you're willing to work your ass off, you got a shot. Same in the speaking business and the writing business. You got a shot. No guarantees in anything. Okay, but you got a legitimate shot. These businesses pump out money like it's going out of style. They pay billions in the case of the bigger companies, billions of dollars over, in a year, okay, to the field that succeeds. But most people fail because most people fail in everything. That's just the way it is. So when you go on Reddit or you go online, you see people, complaining about any business, whatever it is, and specifically since we're talking about, insurance marketing organizations, take it with a grain of salt because they won't do the work. Are these companies perfect? No. Is GFI perfect? No, none of them are. I will tell you this as a consultant for 7 years with Johnson & Johnson, they're not perfect either. Just so you know, they're major league screwed up. I know I was on the inside for 7 years. Okay. Now they're a great company as these other companies are. Okay. But they're not perfect. Yes, they have flaws. Yeah, there are issues. Okay. Yes, there are many things I disagree, with which I disagree. Absolutely. With all of them. That's just the nature of complex business, a complex, organization. You're not going to agree with everything. It's like the government or anything else, But that said, they represent a legitimate business opportunity. And so anyway, I just want you to know that I'm a third party and, I don't have any ties to them, but I am a fan because you can literally pull yourself out of a financial hole and create financial independence for yourself by joining and working your butt off at one of these companies. Absolutely. Okay. The hottest company in the industry right now is GFI. I don't think anyone would argue with that's actually being honest. Okay. Now I know they're competitors. Now I know hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of leaders in other companies outside of GFI that probably don't like me saying that, but they wouldn't, when I'm one-on-one with them, they wouldn't say, they couldn't argue against it. Eric Olson and GFI have put 45,000 people into their company in 18 months. That's never been done before. To my knowledge, it's never been done. That's unbelievable. Now, some people in the industry, and they'll say, well, he came from World Financial Group. Olson came from World Financial Group, and some of those people followed him. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah, I would have followed him too. Okay, that was a pretty smart move for those people that did that. And yes, some of those people followed. Probably, thousands of them. There's no question about it. So that's part of their, their initial growth for sure. I don't know what the numbers are exactly, but sure, that's certainly part of it. Okay, that's why there's a lawsuit because obviously a company like WFG is basically a small company, but it's owned by a big company named Aegon that's based in Europe. It's a giant multi-billion-dollar company, and of course they start filing lawsuits. That's what all big companies do. They file lawsuits. It's stupid, but they have stupid amounts of money. So what they do a lot of times, and this goes for Fortune 500 companies like Aegon and other companies, they try to bleed them. They try to bleed smaller companies because they don't think they can stand the legal fees. And a lot of times it works. Again, I've been consulting for some of the biggest companies in the world, like J&J, GlaxoSmithKline, other companies. And so I know the insides. I know what they do. And they all think pretty much the same way. Money, money, money. That's it. It's all about pleasing shareholders because that's who they answer to effectively. They answer to shareholders. The president answers to a board, and the board answers to the shareholders. And if they don't make the numbers, they're gone. It's brutal. Top big businesses, huge corporations are brutal. And so, so there's been some issue with that, with lawsuits and all that. But, that's, I think it's stupid. I thought it was stupid when Johnson & Johnson did it. Okay. But, and I made that very clear, but, they don't listen to me all the time. Even when you're a consultant, they're paying you millions of dollars. They don't listen to you. But that is what it is. But anyway, what I thought I would do is give you the 5 most common questions that I've gotten about this company. This is their logo, GFI, if you haven't seen it, Global Financial Impact, if you're having a look at this company. Just some of the 5 that I really, that I've had the most of, it seems like, because I've had a bunch of questions. But these are the 5 that really, are the most common. Okay. So, and I want to show you, this is Eric Olson. If you're not familiar with Eric Olson, this is the leader, co-founder. His wife, Sandra, is the other co-founder, and they started this company about 18 months ago. And so that's them. Okay. All right. Give me a second here. Okay. Okay, so here are the 5 questions I've gotten the most over the course of the last, this is really the summer of 2025. These are the questions I've gotten the most about GFI. So again, I'm a third party. I'm not with GFI. I don't work for the company, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just a fan that knows a lot about the industry as an outsider, not as an expert, as an outsider. Okay, but I've been around it for a long time. And so take it or leave it. Here it is, because I'm not going to call you guys back. So if you're going to watch this video and say, call me and tell me more, I'm not going to call you. Okay. I said that already. I'm not going to call you. Watch the video. If you want to know, if you want an expert in GFI, get online, look up GFI and get an associate. They're experts. They'll tell you, whatever you want to know. Okay. But as an outsider looking in and someone that keeps getting all these questions about GFI, here it is. These are the 5 most common questions. I've gotten about 40 questions over the summer, different ones, but these are the top 5. Okay, number 1, is GFI a get-rich-quick scheme? No, it's not. In any way, shape, or form. If you're looking for a get-rich-quick scheme, you shouldn't be an entrepreneur, okay? You shouldn't even be in business because there are no get-rich-quick schemes. Now, if you find one that's legal, let me know, okay? But I've never seen one, not a real one. It's easy to fool the masses with a lot of people in the masses are gullible. Let's just be honest. Okay. When you're 60 years old, like I am and retired, you just say what you think, by the way. So if you think, man, he's really, really kind of bold, I don't care what people think anymore. So if you like this, great. If you don't, that's fine with me. I'm retired. I don't care. Okay. I'm just giving it to you at least the way I see it. Okay. Get rich quick schemes. They don't exist. GFI is not one. If you're looking for something easy, just walk by GFI. That's my opinion. Okay, walk by, because you're going to have to work your butt off to make it work like you do any business. I wouldn't ask anyone, and I've said this publicly in our industry, the speaking, writing industry. I've said this all over the world from stages in front of hundreds of thousands of people collectively over the last, 30 years or so. And that's this. I would never ask another human being to give this business what I've given it. To donate all of my time for that much, to miss all kinds of personal things, relationships, fun, trips, all kinds of stuff, because I was busting my ass in this business to make it work, as well as my partner, which is my wife. I would never ask someone to work those kind of hours. I don't do that now, but I did for 30 years. That's how I feel about GFI. Now this is if you want to go to the top. If you want to knock down another 50 or 100 grand a year, I think you're going to have to work hard to do it. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm talking about if you want to build financial independence, like if you want to be free, really free, and you're not, in my opinion, you're not really free, even in America or Canada or the UK or Australia or any first world free country, so-called free country, for the most part, at least economically free country, you're not really free until you don't have to worry about money. Because if you're worried about money, you're beholden to someone else, a boss, clients, customers, whatever it might be. But when you're living off the interest of your investments, you are free, baby. And GFI is a shot, not a guarantee, no guarantees, a shot at financial freedom. It's a good shot, but it's a shot, and you're going to have to really work at it. Okay. So what I'm saying is, if you're really going to push yourself, you got a chance to do pretty much anything you want to do. They have a program called the POP program. I won't get into it. Talk to an expert. I'm not an expert in the program, but it's basically an ownership program where you have a chance to own part of the company. Now you got to really, do some big work to do that, but it's possible. Eric Olson and Sandra Olson have made it available. It's a great program. Again, you want details of that, talk to an expert who explain it to you much better than I would. But it's unprecedented in the industry, and it's another way to build up your financial independence. Okay, but no, get rich quick scheme. You're looking for something easy to do and make a bunch of money. I don't know any of those opportunities. GFI is not that opportunity. So no, it is not a get rich quick scheme. All right. Okay. Number 2, is the IUL a bad product? The IUL, if you're not familiar, is the core product. I could call it the core product. Maybe you do have someone at WFG. The GFI or WFG for that matter. That's an expert. And they would tell you maybe something different. But I think it's the core product of GFI and WFG for that matter. And if you're not familiar with it, it's a IUL, short for Indexed Universal Life Insurance. Okay. It's a core product. Well, there's very strong feelings on both sides of the fence, the pros and cons of the IUL. I happen to be on the pro side. There are cons to the IUL. I like there are cons to every single product that's ever been produced. There's cons to everything, and there's pros to everything usually. Okay, but I'm a big fan of the IUL product. It's not a perfect product. There aren't any perfect products, financial products that I've ever seen. But is it a bad product? No. Now, the crazy part about it is you will hear people like Susie Orman and Dave Ramsey come out and say things like, oh, the IUL is a terrible product. And there are a lot of people like that who you'd think would actually know what they're talking about, and they really don't. Dave Ramsey, for example, people ask me all the times about Dave Ramsey. I think Dave Ramsey's done a lot of good for people because, he was very smart. He's a very far-right religious guy, and he went to the church, and people followed him because he's religious, and they had said that in common, which is very smart on his part in terms of marketing. He became a radio personality, and that's what he is. He is a radio personality, and a very successful one at that. Then he became a real estate investor and all the rest of it, okay? So that's all good. Good for Dave Ramsey, no problem. He is no financial expert. I've listened to at least 100 hours of him talk, and I will tell you in no uncertain terms, he is no financial expert. He thinks he is, but he's not. Okay. He is a radio personality and a very successful one at that. He's helped a lot of people, especially church people that he goes to, get out of debt. And I think he's right about pay your house off, all those kinds of messages, which are very good messages. No question. He's done a lot of good for a lot of people. He's also hurt people because he doesn't always know what he's talking about. And that's very common in the financial space, so you'll hear people like that put down the IUL. Oh, it's a terrible product. It's a terrible product. Okay, it's not a terrible product. Let me explain just the basic. Again, you want an expert, go to GFI, someone GFI or a financial person, every financial person, insurance person, and see what they think. Different people have different takes on it. But the reason I like the IUL product is because it's a combination of insurance, life insurance, and an investment product. Now, people, again, like Dave Ramsey and some other people will say, oh, no, you don't ever mix a financial product, an investment product with a life insurance product. Well, that's wholesale advice, which usually in the financial space is not good advice. It's like saying Amazon's a great company to invest in. Other people say, no, it's a terrible company. It's overpriced. It's like you get a lot of opinions, okay, on these things because they're complex. The IUL is a very complex insurance product. There's no question about that. Okay, it needs to be structured correctly to make it work for you personally, for you and your family situation. That's the key to it. It's not just a generic product that's easy to understand. It's not. That's why people like Dave Ramsey don't get it because they've never really, I don't think, never really studied it. It doesn't sound like he's really studied it. Okay, you want a financial expert, just like someone that's just a world-class financial expert. It ain't Dave Ramsey or Susie Orman. The guy you want to look up, not connected to me or GFI or WFG or any company I've mentioned so far. He's completely independent. His name's David McKnight. David McKnight. Look him up online. He's on YouTube. I think he's on Instagram. He is brilliant. That guy knows what he's talking about. That's the guy. When push comes to shove, I look up David McKnight or someone that's connected to David McKnight for the answers because he really knows what he's talking about. He's a true world-class expert. And anyone in the financial space high up knows that knows that name. So David McKnight, look him up. If you want to, he'll talk. He talks somewhat about the IUL product, and he really understands. He breaks it down. The reason I like the IUL product as a combination life insurance, which is pretty basic, right? Life insurance, permanent life insurance. Okay, which means you can't outlive it. If you qualify for the life insurance, it's as long as you pay your premium, you get it for life. They can't take it from you as long as you pay the premium. Okay. No one can take it from you, as opposed to term life insurance, which means you have it for a term. I had, I don't know how many, 8 policies at one point. We were building our company in the early days and we were younger. And I thought, God, if I get hit by a bus, this whole thing, all these employees will be gone. And, we'll have a lot of trouble because money was coming, but money was going too, And so I had all these $1 million policies, these term policies. Well, they were 20-year policies and they expired. Right? They finally, had their term and that was it. Now there's no insurance there. So about 98% of term life insurance policies time out. And that's good because that means the person lived, right? But they're also exposed now. They don't have the life insurance anymore. Not everyone needs it. I am a fan of life insurance. I am a conservative, value-based investor. Okay, I'm an investor, a small investor that lives off the interest of my money, and I have for a very, very long time. Okay, 30 plus years. All right, I'm not a big time, investor. I don't take big risks. I don't like big risks. I like sure things, or as close to a sure thing in the investment world as possible. I'm frugal with my money. I don't know. I live way below my means. I always have, and that luckily, like something like COVID came along, saved my neck because of that. But point of it is that if you're a high roller or you're a big gambler, you might not like that product. I don't like gambling. I like sure things. If I go to Vegas, I don't want to play the slots. I want to own the house. I want to own the slots because the house always wins eventually. Okay. I'm not telling you how to be, what kind of investor you should be. I'm conservative. I like conservative. Because as long as you have enough money, you answer to no one. I don't know about you. I'll be honest with you, at 60 years old, and this was when I was 15 years old, I never cared about having a bunch of stuff. Oh, yeah, I bought a bunch of stuff along the way because you get stupid along the way, and I did. Mansions and, fancy cars and big boats and, everything else. And it was all fun, and it was all pretty stupid, frankly, because the best thing in the world is money in the bank, a lot of it. What does a lot mean? A lot, enough where you can live off the interest and not ever worry about it another day in your life. So when you wake up in the morning, go to bed at night, you don't think about money because you have enough. No more than in the first world where you would think about food. Why would you not think about food? Why don't you think about your next meal? Because you don't have to worry about it. It's going to be something. You're just not worried about it. That's how being financially independent is. And so some people require a lot more money and they like to take big risks and 100 million here and 200 million and, invest in this and buy, $50 million houses or $20 million houses. God bless them. That's fine. Not for me. I want to sleep at night and I want to do whatever the hell I want to do, whenever the hell I want to do it, with whomever I want to do it with for as long as I want. And I don't want to have to answer to anybody. That's the greatest, in my opinion, that's the greatest thing. So maybe not for you. Maybe you think, well, you're a small player. Yeah, maybe. But it just seems, just depends on what makes you happy. I like the IUL because it's conservative. Once you qualify for the insurance product, they can't take it from you. Term is different. Once it times out, it times out. You're uninsured. I don't like that. Okay. I'm willing to pay a premium to hold on to that life insurance because remember, if you get sick or something goes wrong and you can't qualify for insurance, you ain't ever getting insurance again. It ain't going to happen. Okay. It's very, very difficult to get insurance when you get sick. Get it while you're healthy. Get permanent insurance. Okay. What's the other, not to go into a big insurance thing here, but what's the other option? Whole life insurance, crappy product, old product designed years ago, no longer a good product. Forget that. In my opinion, I like index universal life. Okay. Lots of reasons why. I'm not going to get a whole thing. I'm going too far with this anyway. I didn't plan on doing that, but I am a fan of it. I own millions of dollars in IUL. It's a great, I like the investment strategy. Is it the most aggressive investment? No. The most aggressive investment, well, there's lots of them, but the market obviously would be one. I'm in the market as well, like most investors. But I like the IUL because there's a ceiling and a floor. Okay, I can't lose money on the money that goes in. I can only go up to in my product about 12%. Okay, but I can't lose money that I put in above and beyond the cost of the insurance. Okay, so if I'm losing you right now, I'm sorry about that. And I'm not going to go into any more detail about this because you can look it up. Go to ChatGPT and type in index universal life and get it to say, explain it to me like I'm 12 years old. And it'll break down the pros and cons. ChatGPT knows the whole thing. You don't need to listen to me. Okay, but that is their core product. And I really like it. Again, a lot of people don't. I like it because the biggest problem you have when you start making, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year and more is taxes. Taxes are what you pay. What you really pay, that's your biggest bill, And so you need to minimize your taxes. And you don't want to not pay your taxes because they will put you under the jail. The IRS has a funny thing about getting their money. You know how good the government is at spending money, right? Yeah. Not so good at saving it or investing it, but they are good at spending it. So the IRS always gets their money. Do not try to fool the IRS. They will put you in prison. They'll take everything you have. So you got to pay your taxes. But you want to minimize your taxes, right? You want a tax-advantaged product. And that's what this is. And they call it the rich man's bank. Many wealthy people. I've been interviewing wealthy people for over 40 years, multimillionaires, billionaires in some cases, for over 40 years. And they love, most of them, not every one of them I've ever interviewed, in the interest of full disclosure, but most of the ones I can remember in recent years, since the IOL's been around, love it because the tax advantaged opportunity it presents. I'm not going to go into the details of that, but I'm just saying this is a good product. Now, here's the kicker. It needs to be structured properly. So when you get this product, you become an associate, let's say of GFI or another company with IUL, make sure that here's what I would do. I'll tell you now what I would do. I go to ChatGPT, put in all your things. Say, I'm 32 years old. I have a wife, a husband, I have kids, whatever. I have this much money. Put all your details in ChatGPT and say, I'm buying an IUL product, an Index Universal Life product. I want to know how to structure it to the best so I can have it, be a great tax advantage product for me and my family, and also, have permanent life insurance, and to be able to use it as my own bank to take loans out from the money I overfund the product with. Okay. So it's a mouthful, but go ChatGPT and then show it to the insurance agent or the associate that you're working with and say, can you structure it the way ChatGPT said to structure? Do you agree with it? Do you not agree with it? That's what I would do. Okay, why not? That's the technology we have available to us. I love the IUL. I have the IUL. I've used it as a personal bank forever. A lot of wealthy people do. I love the product. Okay, not everybody does. I think it's a great product. I really do. Okay, so sorry that was so long. Way longer than I expected to talk about that. Okay, number 3. You've said, meaning me, on social media that GFI was the best business opportunity of 2025, 2026. Why? What makes it so good? Okay, a couple of things. One, anytime a value-based investor, in my opinion, a value-based investor looks at a company, whether you're going to join the company as an employee or GFI doesn't have, they have employees, but if you're going to join as an associate or you're going to invest in the company, if it's a public company, which GFI is currently not, I think they will be, but they're not now. You want to look at, as a value-based investor, who is leading the company? Who is the leader? What's their philosophy? What is their growth strategy? What is everything you can find out about the leader? I'll give you an example. I have a fair amount of my portfolio as a conservative investor in Amazon. I personally do not like Jeff Bezos. I've never met him, but when I've read about him and heard about him, I don't like him. But I do like his philosophy in terms of his strategy going forward with Amazon and some of the things that the company is doing to really grow exponentially in the next 10 years. And that's kind of my horizon as an investor is 10 years right now. Okay, so I like it. So I have a fair amount of my portfolio in Amazon because of the leadership. Now, Bezos gets hit by a truck tomorrow, I reevaluate the whole strategy. Not because of Bezos personally, because I don't even like him personally, okay? But the strategy would most likely change under a different leader. That's, in my opinion, the leadership is the most important thing when you invest in a company. People think it's products. I don't. Now, maybe you disagree, but I don't. I look at the leadership. I want to know who's at the helm of this thing. Okay, that said, GFI, at the helm, without any question, is Eric Olson. Okay, my opinion, 20 plus years of being a writer and a speaker and a consultant to this industry as an outside third party, he's the best guy that ever did this, bar none. And I'm saying that, and I know hundreds of people in this industry that are phenomenal leaders. Like, they're really good leaders. They're, friends, associates of mine. I mean, I know that probably make them mad if they see this, and that's not the point of it, but I'm just trying to be honest. He's the best. It's kind of like when I was playing professional tennis in the 80s, and I was ranked 512 in the world at one point. And I ran up against this young kid who was 5 years younger than me in Florida. And I thought to myself, I've never seen anybody play tennis like this. He's playing a different game than me. And that kid's name was Andre Agassi. And I thought to myself, who would go on to be one of the top players of all time? And I thought to myself, this is the top person. That's how I feel about Eric Olson. He's the best. There are a lot of good ones. He's the best. And so that right off the bat as an investor, if I was investing in the company, which I'm not because it's not a public company, but if I were, and I would in the future, if Eric Olson's setting it up, you look at the leadership. I think that's the first thing you do. Now you look at the dynamics of the leader. What does he want to do? Where's he taking the company? Like Bezos. Okay, where's he going with the company? Where is he going to take it next? I'll give you another example, a parallel. I personally can't stand Elon Musk. I'm not going to say I hate him because I never met him. Okay, so that's a little rough. But I really don't like Elon Musk. I really dislike him. I don't like what he says. I don't like his nonsense. I think he's immature, but he is a genius, in my opinion. And I love the direction he's taking with Tesla. And I won't go into more of that because I'm tempted to go into it, but I'm not going to. I don't like him personally, but I do like the direction. If he walks away or gets hit by a truck tomorrow, I reevaluate the strategy. Okay, let's go back to GFI. Same thing. So Eric Olson is on fire to build the largest IMO in the world, and he's going to do it. I have no doubt about it. Okay, as soon as that company goes public, I will be one of the first people to participate in the IPO. Okay, because it's going to be huge, just huge. And also look at the board. Now, if you want to go down from there, you look at the board. Look at the board of directors. Okay, I know a fair amount of people, almost everybody on the board at GFI. Okay, these are sharp people, experienced, decades long experienced leaders that know this industry from the inside out. Most of them are field leaders, so they know the way this business really works, and it's different. It's a different business than a lot of other businesses, and so I really like their take on this whole thing and them guiding the company along. The president of the company is Marty Schaefer. If you don't know Marty Schaefer, he's an industry expert. He's been around for a long time, knows where all the bodies are buried. That was one of the smartest things, in my opinion, that Eric Olson did and Sandra Olson did, was to bring on Marty Schaefer. I don't know how they got him initially when they first started with nothing practically. I imagine that Marty saw the potential as a leader, with Eric and Sandra. So I'm sure that's why he came on board. But he is an excellent, first-class, world-class leader, and he is the president of the company. So then you look at the board. Now you look at the field leadership. It's a young group. Most of them are young. There's a few people that are older that are at the top of the company already, but a lot of them are young. They're in their 30s. These are young people. That's what you want. You don't want, people in their 60s, 70s, 80s. A lot of the companies, these guys have been doing this for 50 years. Nothing wrong with it. But if you're looking at a new opportunity, you want young blood. You want younger people, because young people don't want to be around people and be in business with people that are 40 years older, typically. Okay. You want young bucks, people that think in a different way. Okay. They grew up with technology. GFI is leveraging technology better than ever any IMO has ever done it. Okay. Another story for another time. They are brilliantly leveraging technology. Okay. The life insurance industry, and life insurance people won't like this probably, but this is my opinion. Okay. It's known for being notoriously slow when you write a policy up and getting people approved, someone approved for life insurance. Sometimes it takes months, and people, because it's not a shiny toy, a lot of times agents become frustrated because people cancel. They go, hey, what's happening with the life insurance thing? And then they go, well, we're still waiting on approval, and they get tired of waiting and they cancel it. And it's really very sad, because people, you get sick and you don't have insurance, and someone dies in the family, the primary breadwinner, and the family's destitute. And it happens every day in this country. And it's very sad. So it's a very important product, but most people just don't take care of their finances. They just don't. And so they cancel when they don't get it right away. Well, technology, GFI is getting approvals sometimes in minutes because they're leveraging, AI, they're leveraging technology. AI is evaluating, the policies, and they're approving them or not approving them, whatever. But it goes fast. And that's That's a whole big thing. I won't get into that either. I'm tempted to I'm excited about that because so many people will get these products, these insurance products. Everyone should have more life insurance pretty much than they have for the most part. It's a big deal. And it's not a sexy product. It's not a new Corvette. It's not a big house. It's not a flashy boat. It's not a fun toy, but it's something that if you're a responsible adult and you have a family, you better have good life insurance because otherwise you're not responsible. It's like not having a will. You're just irresponsible. You have a family that relies on you. You have a will. You have your financial house in order. I don't care if you got money or not. Okay. Especially if you don't have money, make sure it's in order so you don't leave people with a mess. And that happens every day in this country. And it's pathetic. It's irresponsible. And a lot of people do it, because it's not fun. It's not sexy. It's not flashy, but it is important. Very important, especially if someone dies. Okay. So what makes it the best business opportunity? Okay, so leadership. That's it. I mean, that's the main thing. Technology, obviously, they're leveraging. But I'll tell you the truth. The reason I really believe it is the best business opportunity is because there's money involved here. Again, like I said in the opening here, you can make a lot of money in this industry. And other companies you can't too. I'm in the industry. It's not just GFI. But GFI, because of Eric's leadership, because of Marty Schaefer, because of the board they've put together, because the field leadership is young, and a bunch of these pieces of criteria, they are pushing so hard to grow this company, and I don't see that in other companies in this industry. They're all good companies. I like them. I mean, everyone I've dealt with has been really good. The leaders are super nice. They're good with their people. There are some bad ones, but most of them are good, and they really help people and all the rest of it. But these guys are pushing like there's no tomorrow. You're in the hottest thing going, and I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon. 45,000 associates in 18 months. I don't care if some of them came from WFG or not. I know they did. So what? That's unbelievable. If you're new to the industry, you wouldn't know that. It's just a number to you. But as you get into it, you'll see how unbelievable how that is. And that is the direct result of Eric Olson, Sandra Olson, Marty Schaefer, and the entire board and the leadership team. And the field leadership team as well. These guys are pushing like there's no tomorrow. It's very impressive. I mean, if I was a young person starting out with no money, for the cost of a life insurance license, and I think $100 or $200, you can start this whole thing for $500 or $600. And then if you don't have $500 or $600, you could put that on a credit card. That one I'd be okay if to finance your business, a potential 6-figure business, 7-figure business, maybe. No guarantees, but a shot. I wish they had this when I was starting out because I would have done it in a heartbeat. I wouldn't even thought twice about it. What's your downside? You learn about money. You learn how money works. You get your finances in order. If the business isn't for you, quit. So what? What have you lost? You got your finances straight. You know more about money than you ever have known in your life. You're going to get a hell of an education on the basics of personal finance. Okay? And that's going to be something you'll carry with you your whole life. You can't lose unless you just don't do anything. Get your finances straight first. So you're an example. I don't care if you have no money. Get your finances straight. Okay, even if you don't have hardly anything, get your insurance set up. Get things on track. Get a budget. Get them to help you. And then when you go prospect with people, you tell them what you did, and they can follow your example. And if you don't like doing it after a year or 6 months, quit. What have you lost? It's not a big risk. Again, I like conservative investments. GFI is a conservative investment that has a potential upside that is staggering. Okay, that's why I think it's the best business opportunity of 25, 26. Let's see how it goes going forward. If it'll be the best of 27, in my opinion. I think it will be. I have no doubt. Again, because of leadership and everything we talked about. But we'll see. Okay, question number 4. How much time do I have to work each week to be successful in GFI? Can I do it part-time? I will tell you, again, I'm an outsider. So if you want an expert's opinion, again, find a GFI associate and ask them these questions. They're experts. They do this every day. I'm just an outsider looking in. Okay, I have a lot of experience on the outside, but that's still the outside. So keep that in mind. I couldn't give you an exact number, but I would definitely, unless you got a bunch of money, start it part-time. You don't even know if you're going to like it. You might make, of course, you can make a bunch of money. Yeah, sure. But if you hate what you're doing, you're not going to enjoy the money anyway. So I would start part-time. Absolutely don't do it full-time. I wouldn't. Unless you're an industry insider or something, you know the business like the back of your hand, you're coming from another company, that's different. But I mean, for most of us, that are watching this, probably most people, you're going to want to start part-time. How many hours does it take? As long as it takes. I mean, it's like saying in the speaking business, I can tell you as an insider in professional speaking and writing business, how long does it take? It takes whatever it takes. What do you want to do? I don't know. You want to make 50 grand a year? That takes a certain amount of time. You want to make 500,000 a year? You want to make $1 million? Whatever it is. I wanted as much as I could possibly earn, so I put a lot more time in our business. But it depends on your goals. Talk to a GFI expert, someone that's in it every day, and say, hey, what am I looking at time-wise? I got a job, I got a business, whatever. And ask them. I couldn't give you a real number. Okay. Here's the last question before we wrap. Why are some people attacking GFI and others seem to love it? That's a really good question. It really is. They do the same thing with World Financial Group. They do the same thing with Primerica. Okay. And I'll give you my opinion. And again, if you want someone on the inside, ask them what they think about it. Here's my opinion. Okay. For one, it's a networking model, right? It's a network marketing model. Some of the companies call it that, other companies don't call it that, but it's in that ilk, okay, where you're recruiting people and you don't get paid to recruit people. That people say that all the time. That's not true. You do not get paid to recruit people. Okay. You get paid a percentage of what your team brings in and what you bring in. Okay. So that's how it actually works. But a lot of people have a problem with that model. They see it and they look at it and they go, oh, it's like Amway or something like that, And Amway's been around for a long time. Rich DeVos, who founded Amway, was a good friend of mine for 25 years. So I mean, it's not like Amway's still a multi-billion-dollar company. So people, it's illegal, it's a pyramid. No, it's not. It's already been litigated. It's nonsense. That was 50 years ago. Okay, this company is legal. All these companies are legal. But people, have heard so many myths about this industry. They think, oh, it's bad because it's like a pyramid. All the people at the top make the money. Yeah, the people at the top make all the money and everything. Okay, they make it at Johnson & Johnson too. So don't be fooled by nonsense. You have to look at when you're doing research on a company like GFI, you've got to realize that most people are ignorant when it comes to business. They are. I'm not being a jerk. I'm trying not to be a jerk. But most people are broke. They don't understand anything about business. They have no idea what the hell they're talking about, but they like to go online and talk about it. Things that they do the same thing in the speaking business, in the writing business. People say, oh, let's write a book and sell 1 million copies. You know how many people sell 1 million copies of a book? Almost no one. Okay. It's very, very rare, And so you'll read a lot of different things and whatever. They'll attack the model. They'll say, well, I got in and I bought the IUL, and then my neighbor said, the IUL is a terrible product, or my financial guy said it's a terrible product, and I got ripped off, and so what do I do now? And or it's a pyramid scheme, or I tried it and people didn't like it, they didn't want to get involved or whatever, and so they fail, and then they don't look at themselves in the mirror and say it was my fault. They look at the company or the industry and go, well, it's GFI's fault, or WFG's fault, or Primerica's fault, or whomever. They don't want to blame themselves. That's 99.9% of the people I've run into. And I've run into a lot of them over the years in book signings all over the country and in Canada, frankly, with this thing. Well, I haven't really made any money yet and I've been doing it for 3 months. It's like, then go to work. Don't blame the company. Don't blame the comp plan. If someone in this business is making money and you're not, and you have the same opportunity, let's see. I'm not like an analyst exactly, but I would tend to look at you as the problem. Okay, no problem. It's okay. Get your mentorship from someone, a good leader. Have them tell you what to do. Go do it, or don't do it. Go back to your job and forget it. But don't blame a company or an organization or an opportunity when other people are succeeding at it and you're not. It makes no sense. It's just illogical. Okay. And again, many people are illogical. So you'll read all kinds of crap, and all kinds of things about, organizations, whatever. They say there's all kinds of people that hate Mercedes-Benz. They hate Johnson & Johnson. They hate Microsoft. And they have all these. So, it's in every company. But that said, insurance marketing organizations and multi-level companies do tend to get a lot of heat because there's a lot of stories. And it's a low barrier to entry. For a very small amount of money, you can get started. So you got a lot of yahoos. You got a lot of goofballs that get into it because they don't have to pay $2 million to get started. They pay, $500 for the whole thing or whatever it is. It's something like that, depending on the state you're in or whatever. But it's a very low amount of money. Okay, so you get a lot of goofballs, you get a lot of riffraff that come through, and they have no business ever being in a business. They should be working, at the steel mill for the rest of their life. No put down, but it is what it is. Okay, you don't have to be a genius, but you have to have some business acumen. You have to have some discipline, some work ethic, or just forget it. You don't belong in business. And so they fail, and then they blame the company or the organization. So that's why you'll see these great, the disparity in opinions about GFI. Eric Olson, he's a controversial figure because he's a big name. He's been out there for a long time and he's done a lot of big work, and there's a lot of jealousy also, a lot of jealousy about guys like Eric Olson. I've seen it up close and for 20 plus years. And so that's what that is. So it's because it's weird. It's kind of like, the IUL. It's like, why are some people so passionate on one side and so many people passionate on the other? It's just one of those things. You got to look at it, in my opinion. Okay, and I'll wrap up with this. You got to look at this thing. I think if you're really serious about investigating this is a serious opportunity for you and your family, look at it through the eyes of your personal needs. Forget the industry as a whole. Forget what other people say. It doesn't matter. This is about you and your family. Okay. I personally, again, I like the IUL products. I've purchased many of them. I use them as a personal bank. I have had tax advantage. I've been in a tax advantage situation. They've saved me a fortune in taxes. Okay. Over the years. I still have the permanent life insurance. I don't really need it, but I want it. And there's personal reasons I want it. That's my point. Make it personal to you. I like the fact, even though I've got enough money, I like the fact that if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, that my wife gets a whole bunch of money, that she can do whatever she wants with, whatever, give it to charity. I don't care. But I like that. It's just I'm not saying that's the way you should do it. I'm just saying personally, I like that. I feel good about that, and it may be different for you. Maybe you think, well, then, I could save that money and do something else with it. Okay, whatever. You make the decision. But I would make your decision if you're thinking about GFI and going into it. I would look at it personally and then talk to the person that's recruited you and just say, hey, here's what I'm looking to do. I want to make $200,000 a year. I don't care about being rich. I want to make $200,000 a year. I want to have a tax advantage situation. I want to become a value-based investor. I want to learn how money works. I want to buy a house, pay it off at some point, put my kids through college, whatever it is. That's what you do with a financial person. You walk them through your personal situation. That's why any good financial planner, if you say to them, any good financial people, and God knows I've been I've worked, in that industry and in Wall Street for a long time, with what I do. And I know thousands and thousands of them, and guys like David McKnight, who's the best of the best, in my opinion. Look him up if you haven't. He's not involved with GFI, but he's just, a great one of the best financial people in the world, in my opinion. A guy like that a world-class guy like that will, if you say, here's my situation, he'll say, I'll say, you say, what do I do? He'll say, it depends. I need way more detail. They want to know everything you want to do, your plans as of now. They may change, but as of now, it's all custom. So customize this thing. So if you say, Steve, should I join GFI? I don't know. I don't know what you want to do. If you're looking for a serious business opportunity, you're going to have a hard time going wrong with this one because you can't lose. I don't know how you could lose. Okay. If you don't like it, quit. But if you do like it and you get good at it, you got the chance of a lifetime, which to me is financial independence. Okay. I'm not talking about buying a bunch of crap and, living on an island drinking, out of a coconut under a palm tree. I'm not talking about that. If you want to do that, do it. But I'm talking about not having to ever worry about money another day in your life. That's the greatest thing I've ever achieved. And I mean, for me personally, I don't mean outward achievement. I mean, for me, for my peace of mind and my happiness, that's the greatest thing. Just not having to worry about money. Doing, what people do, what do you do every day? Whatever I want. That's all. Not, nothing flashy, but I would highly recommend it. Okay. Maybe you'll think differently. Maybe you're a bigger player. Maybe you'll see, well, you're a small timer. You think too small. Maybe. Then if that's how you feel about it, then go for a bigger number. But tell the person that. Say, hey, look, I want to play big time. I want to make millions of dollars and, do all these big things and buy a yacht and travel around the world. Good. Hey, it's your life, man. Do it. It's possible. It's possible with GFI too. Certainly is. So tell them that, whatever you want to do, and then see if it fits. So if you say, should I do it? I don't know if you should do it. Talk to the person who recruited you or is talking to you about it. Or if you don't have someone that is, then find someone and say, here's what I want to do. Walk me through and see if it's a fit for you. I think that's probably the best thing you can do. Okay. All right. So I probably went longer than I should have. I got wound up about this. I'm just a big fan. Again, like I said, I won't repeat it, but because the industry, because it can pull so many people out of a financial hole, and it sucks being in a financial hole. I feel for people because I've been there, and it's really, really hard. So look at it, give this a good once over. And I think what you're going to see, I don't have a crystal ball, but knowing Eric Olson, knowing Sandra Olson, knowing the board, knowing Marty Schaefer, knowing, Greg Kapp, who's, another person involved very heavily in the business, and other John Joseph, and these other people that are intimately involved in the organization, guiding this ship as it grows exponentially. I think they're going to be the biggest company in this business by far in a very short period of time. I think they're going to go public. And I will be waiting with bated breath, as they say, for the IPO, and one of the first people to jump on board, because I think it's going to be one of the biggest success stories in the history of Wall Street. And I know that's a big claim, okay, especially for a conservative, small-time investor like me, right? I still think it's going to be one of the biggest success stories in business in America and throughout the world. I really do. So we'll see what happens. No one knows for sure, but that's my take. I hope that answered the major part of your questions, okay? And if you go with GFI, I wish you the very best of luck. Thanks for watching. Steve Siebold for the Personal Development Podcast. See you next time.